Good evening everyone, I'm Chris and welcome back to another episode of Rift Amps. So I did say I needed to crack on with a load of Elysium builds because I'm out of stock on the shelf and I've got a couple of orders that have come through, so you need to get on with these. So I'm just in the middle, the enclosures have arrived, so I'm just going to do 3 for the time being, just to get the orders that have come through out the door. And they come through, most of you have seen this before, they come through and I just have them made up with these little cross marks on, which is where I need to drill, and that means I can make sure that I'm accurate with them, but I'm not paying the labour time for somebody else to do it. So they come through, and then what I do is I draw my pilot holes and then I enlarge the holes out to whatever size I need. Now, this industry is strange, and we have talked about this before, in that some components are imperial and others are metric, which makes it really frustrating when you like to be as accurate as I like to be, where I want the perfect sized hole for any component that's going to go in. I don't want to have any slop if possible. And so for example, the foot switch needs a 12mm hole. Well, and what I've got is I've got a bunch of these stepped drill bits, all different sizes, and I use these for all sorts of things. So I can draw my pilot holes and then I can enlarge each hole to whatever size it needs to be, and then with the next size up on that, I can just touch it, and you can get a nice little internal bevel there, which just cleans up the hole nicely. Okay, that's a nice thing to do. Now, I've got all the metric sizes in the world, but the imperial sizes, especially in the UK, in these step drill bits, are harder to come by. And so I found a pack, and it was 5 different size bits. Some of the steps are in 1/4 inches, some of them are 1/8 of an inches, some of them are 1/16 of an inch. So you've got, quite a small graduation there, we'll call it. And one of them was in 30 seconds. So I could get those really odd in-between sizes and be super accurate. So, for example, the level control here, which is a potentiometer, requires a 9/30 seconds hole, which is ever so slightly larger than 7mm. Now, there isn't a 7mm metric bit, and even if there was, I would have to enlarge it ever so slightly anyway to 9/30 seconds. So that drill bit, I only use it for this job, this this particular job on this pedal, and I can't find it. I can't find it anywhere. I don't know where it's gone. It's disappeared. I've looked everywhere. It only lives in one place, which is in this pot, and it's not there. Ugh, frustrating. So all I've been able to do is drill it out metric to 6.5mm with a normal drill bit, and then, thankfully, just to get me out of the proverbial this week, I found in my stash a non-stepped drill bit. Excuse the grubby hands. I have been machining this morning. So this means, so rather than steps, it's a smooth taper. Basically, it's like a reamer, but it goes in your thing, and you can just ever so slowly in your drill press enlarge it out to exactly where you want it to be, and you can just be really careful with it. So that's got me out of it this morning, but I still need to find that drill bit. And when I start losing bits, it's a sign that I need to tidy the workshop. Right, just in the process of putting the Matamp bank together, and one thing the customer asked me to do was to extend his speaker cable. It was 80 centimeters long, and he wanted another 2 meters on top of that. So I've now got this ridiculously long speaker cable all the way over there. Look, woo! So that's all made up and done. So he wants to run it to like a I think it's an aux box or something like that. So that's been done. Just got to give the cabinet a clean and a wipe down and a sort out. And then I can put all of this back together. The amp itself, customer authorised the replacement of the 6 V6s. So that's all been done. I've given it a service. There is just a tiny bit of noise in the preamp that I'm not happy with. So I need to focus in on that and get that sorted. And then we can put this whole thing back together and the customer can have it back. All done then. All wired up, all sorted, looking great, sounds great. Just got to put the back cover on it, pop it in a box, and this one is off to the Czech Republic. So nice one, Jacob. Thank you for the order. Really, really pleased. Absolutely love this pedal. It's great. But anyway, yeah, on to the next two. PR35 update. This is Falcon's amp. Making good progress on this. The power transformer is on its way to me, so I have been in the meantime making progress on the rest of it. As you can see, the board is populated. Just got to do my unders, overs and twisties on that one. I've started doing the sockets, got the reverb transformer connected up, reverb driver done. And do you remember on previous builds, because of where the half power switch is located, the heater wiring did look a bit messy. So what I'm trying on this one, I don't know if it's something I'm going to stick with, is I've decided to do it in the other style, which is the laydown style, as you often would see in Marshalls, just for this section. So I'm going to keep the flyers for V1, 2 and 3 and then connect to 4. Then we go to the laydown style, and then from there I'm going to up over the top again, up to the dual light. So we're going to see how that works. I'm not 100% happy with it. I might rip it out and do it again. We'll see. All the connections are good. I've never liked the way this style looked, so I've never managed to do it in a way that fits my own level of OCD. But anyway, that's where we are with it. I think that's a better solution than having the over the top from here to here and then from here to here bent away to make its way around the switch, because to get a switch with the right voltage and current rating for the Pento tribe purposes is quite difficult. You can't get a low profile one, so we're kind of working around that. But that's where we are with it. Pots are in and all my connections. So next thing on this is it's the board stuff. So I'm just going to get the board that way around. I'm going to start doing my board connections on that, and yeah, this is coming along quite nicely. And while we're at it, I've also started on the next PR18. I don't know if I mentioned this one before. Another black panel one. 240 volts, it's UK spec. IEC socket is punched, and all the extra holes that I need on the rear are done. So actually I can start populating this one quite quickly. So we've got that one on the go, and the other one was the next Ainsley Lister SIG that I've started marking, drilling and punching. So I've got quite a bit on the go at the moment. Right, Heathkit. A lot of you in the comments said you really wanted me to show you more in depth about the Heathkit and how we're going to service it and align it, and we're going to get onto that in later videos. But what I found online was from the 1966 Heathkit brochure catalogue was the original advert for the FM4, and the unit itself, sold as a kit, was £2.15, which in today's money is around 50 quid, which for a radio receiver is really good value for money. Especially the quality of this thing is absolutely fantastic. So really, really pleased that I found this. You could also buy it with the amplifier kit and other things for £16.08, which is a lot more money. But yeah, that unit on its own, unassembled as a kit, £2.15, about 50 quid. Anyway, Here's the schematic. Now, compared to a guitar amplifier, a radio is much more complicated. Reason being, a guitar amplifier has one job, which is to amplify. And all it has to do is amplify the signal which you inject into it, which you plug into the front end. So it just needs to be sensitive. It needs to be sensitive enough to pick up that really weak and feeble guitar signal and amplify it up enough where it's strong and powerful enough to drive a speaker, right? That's all a guitar amplifier needs to be. A radio's got to do something else. Not only has it got to be sensitive enough to pick up that radio signal and amplify it, it also needs to be selective. So it needs to be able to identify which signal we want it to amplify, okay? And that's quite a complex job, which is why radios are far more complicated than guitar amplifiers. You've got multiple radio stations out there, and so we need a radio receiver that can narrow down just to the right point where the station we want to listen to is located. Remove anything else around it. We don't want any of the noise and the static and the buzz and all that stuff. We only want to listen to what we choose to, and it's quite a complex method to get a radio to do that. Okay. Once we've chosen what we want to listen to and we've removed everything else, then we need to amplify it. Okay. So there's a lot more going on. And I want you to have a look at this schematic and say, we're working left to right here. From our input here, our aerial here, all the way through to roughly here. Consider all of that to be your guitar and your pickup. Everything else moving onwards is the amplifier stage. The rest of this is selecting, removing, EQing, and isolating, that's a good word, the radio signal that we want to listen to. Okay, so guitar amplifiers need to be sensitive. Radios need to be both sensitive and selective. Now, I know some of you will be listening and will be saying, well, actually, there is some selectivity going on in guitar amplifiers. Yes, there is, but that's simply just removing things we don't want to listen to. Some guitar amplifiers, as you know, might pick up a radio station or two, especially in an old building. And, you know, there are ways to stop that happening. But with a radio, we want to pick up the radio stations. We want to choose which ones we want to listen to. Whether it's a strong local signal or one that's further away and is quite weak, and we want to amplify that up to listening level. So there's a lot more going on. So how do you do it? How do you make it work? Well, the first thing you do is, I'm going to be quick with this, you detect the signal in the detector stage, and that's what this ECC85 does. This detects the signal and allows us to select which one we want. Then we remove that signal from all the others and imprint them onto our own frequency called the intermediate frequency, the IF stages, as we call them. It's got 3 IF stages. Once we've done that, then we can amplify it. Okay? So there's a lot more going on, quite complex. And I am going to go through with you all in the simplest way that I can in future videos to explain how it all works without being too complex and too nerdy and have too much other stuff going on. But you'll notice a lot of these valves look like guitar valves. This ECC85, here it is, looks almost identical. I've got one here. To the untrained eye, this is the 12A-Y7. And if you didn't know, you'd say they're the same, right? But they do very different things in very different ways. Right. One thing we need to do once this is all serviced is give this thing an alignment. Some of you might know what an alignment is, some of you don't. It's simply making literally aligning or making all of the different circuits in the radio like tuning up a guitar. You're making everything in tune and to resonate with each other, and so they're nice and sensitive. Radios themselves, if they're not aligned like a guitar, they'd be out of tune. You can't tune into the right things if they're not aligned. So it's a similar concept, but a very different way of going about it. Right, I think I've warbled on for too much. Hopefully that all makes sense. In future videos, we will crack on with this further. Good news, after a couple of days stuck with the courier, the cabinet for the Ainsley Lister signature has just turned up, so going to get this quickly turned around and sorted. As usual, it's come out wonderful. I mean, such a good finish on it. So I'm always blown away when these come through. So what have I got to do? Got to drill my chassis mounting holes, my handle, fit the speaker, reverb tank, dress it all up, get the chassis turned around, and then I can get this one immediately out the door onto the courier's van tomorrow, and it should be in California by this time next week. Well, that's it then, guys. Thank you very much for watching once again. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, comments down below, join the channel like these guys have, and I shall catch you all on Sunday. So I wasn't actually going to tell you about this because I'm a little bit embarrassed, but cards on the table, let's go for it. So yesterday, which was Monday morning, I was filming some little extra bits for my racing channel, which I don't put a lot of content out there, but I was just filming some extra bits. Basically, what we're doing is the car needs the rear suspension to be refreshed. So I bought these used arms and needed to fit new bushes into these arms. And I've got two of these, and I've got two of the upper arms as well. And there's a really long bolt that runs through these lower ones that attaches to the bottom hub knuckle. And that bolt was seized. And the only way to get it out, unfortunately, is to cut them off. So I had it on the bench. Had the angle grinder out, had my ear protection on, my eye protection on, and I'm just working at it with the angle grinder on the bench, trying to be as safe as I can, as you always are. And then this happened. Yep, I'll play it on loop. The sparks on the angle grinder set fire to my flannel shirt. Never happened before. Didn't even know. Well, I mean, obviously it could happen because it did, but I wasn't aware that it, that only happens to other people, not me. But there you go, it did. So thankfully, because I have a fully equipped workshop with smoke detectors, heat detectors, fire extinguishers, fire blankets, all the other bits you need, thankfully I was able to put myself out. I'm here on my own, so there's no one else to help, and I was okay. But that shirt's ruined. Won't be doing that again. What I'm going to do, I think, is get myself an apron that's made of a fireproof material, so we never risk that happening, because it's not nice being on fire, I'll be honest with you. Right? I didn't feel the heat. That's the bizarre thing. I didn't feel it on my stomach. I didn't feel it coming up to my face. The only reason I saw it, obviously I didn't hear it as well because I had my ear defenders on, is I stopped and looked down, just out the corner of my eye, and I saw, I was smouldering. I was trying to pat it out, and it stopped. It stopped, I thought, oh no, I'll get a photo of this, a little live photo thing. And then it flared up again. Christ, right. So then obviously, put myself out. But a once in a million thing for me, never happened before, never seen that. I got some of it on camera as proof that, these things are dangerous. You've got to be careful. And if you are using any dangerous equipment, this is what I say to everybody, make sure you've got contingency things in place. Fire stuff, definitely, 100%. Of course, I'm going to get myself more protective equipment for next time I'm using the angle grinder. Well, there you go. Stay safe.